Hey there YouTube, this is SJM4306 back with another review video. This time we're going to talk once again about a series that oddly enough does well, despite a lot of people saying that like MP3 players, dedicated discrete MP3 players are dead. It seems that a lot of you are still interested in them, and I freaking love dedicated MP3 players. Also love Android devices. Combines my love of the two. So you'll see here I have two Pexus and an AGP Tech. These are all different sizes, different features, whatnot. Portable Android MP3 players, basically. They'll do other stuff too, web browsing and etc, etc. Some of these you can install apps, etc. Actually, all of these you can. And I have one more which I can't find. I have no idea where I put it. It's a Timku. It's a smaller guy like this dude. I don't know. I packed a bunch of crap and I can't find anything now. So these are the three that I could find, and I use these quite often. I love these guys. Wouldn't trade them for the world. So, in comes Mechen? I guess Michen. They contacted me and they said they have a new version of one of these. So I thought I'd give it the old college try. And this guy looked interesting because it is supposedly smaller than this guy. This is one of the smaller ones that I have. I think the Timku is about the same size. This is about a 4-inch diagonal screen. This guy's supposed to be 3.5, yet have a larger battery than the AGP Tech, which that was my biggest complaint with this, was the battery life wasn't as good as I really wanted it to be. This guy has a 1200 milliamp hour. This guy has a 1500, so it's smaller and has a bigger battery. So yeah, I'm really excited to test that out. Yeah, box is pretty plain. Just a red box, and I don't even think it tells you anything really. It just says MP3 player with Bluetooth recorder, ebook browser, etc, etc, etc. 16 gigs and white. The MSRP on this guy is currently 50 bucks. So it's one of the cheaper models, not the cheapest, but one of the cheaper models. So that definitely will help in my perception of what its ability is. I tend to be a little more forgiving of cheaper products and expect a little more of more expensive products. I just realized I forgot to bring a knife, so I'm just going to try to use my fingernails. Like, give me a sec, I got to grab a knife. Okay, I'm nothing if unprepared. Try not to stab myself, just get in the corner and rip this guy off like a bandage. So yeah, 50 bucks. Other specs, it uses a quad-core processor. It's an MTK. They don't list the clock speed, so I'm guessing it's not super powerful, not super fast. I want to say this had 2 gigs of RAM. So once again, not like super high-end, but if it's just playing music, you really don't need massive amounts of RAM or processing power. The biggest thing that, I'll get this right out of the way, they said no APK install support. So you cannot install your own apps, at least from the factory. Here we are presented with a user manual. Wow, it is small. Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at that in a sec, but we have 4 pages. The English section is literally 4 pages. Okay, so yeah, it looks like it's kind of iPod shaped and a little bit chunky. But yeah, if it's fit a larger battery, I will be happy with that. Attention, cannot install other apps. I almost said APKs. But yeah, given the price, okay, fine. But I really would like to see. I think every Android device should have, you can install apps like from unknown sources. That should just be the way it is. I'm sorry, but gesture operations, settings. What's weird is they make a big deal in their promotional pictures. One of them says like, oh, you can disable or uninstall apps, but if you uninstall it, then you can never reinstall it. So it's sort of meh. We will see also if this supports USB on the go, because I really like, on all these other players, I can plug in a thumb drive. I have one of these, give me a sec. I always carry one of these on me. It's one of these little SanDisks that has a full-size connector on one side and a USB-C, and I just plug this right in and I can directly transfer music between my phone and this. I know you can do it wirelessly, but it's just so much more convenient and so much faster just using a hard USB thumbstick using hardware to transfer it. Oh, here we have some technical specifications. Oh, it's not even 2 gigs of RAM, it's 1.5. We'll see how it performs. I think maybe that's why they don't allow you to install your own apps, is because there's really not that much RAM, so probably it's not going to run a lot of things that you might want it to run. And maybe the processor isn't, up to par to running like modern apps, so 3.5-inch screen, 480 by 800. So yeah, there is like movie player apps built into this and whatnot, but like I really wouldn't want to watch anything modern on a 480 by 800 display, even if it is only 3.5 inches. Anyway, here you have all your standard acceptable file formats. For the music player, they do use an app called Hybe, which is actually like a well-known kind of they make like high-resolution digital audio players and stuff like that. And the app, from what I played around with it a little bit on my phone, and actually seemed like really polished. So that's definitely a good choice for this. Another good choice would have been Double Twist. But yeah, since you can't install anything, you can't install it. They give the signal-to-noise ratio greater than or equal to 85 decibels. USB Type-C 2.0, etc., etc. Oh yeah, this only has 16 gigs of flash, so luckily they do allow you to upgrade via a micro SD card slot. And I want to say on the actual sales literature, they did say you can expand it up to, I think it was it 512 gigs or 1 terabyte? It was something kind of silly, so it should be plenty enough for us. Yeah, 1500 milliamp hour batteries, 5 volts, 1 amp, etc., etc. Okay, that's about it from that. It does come with a nice case, very almost identical. Well, not identical clearly, but it has this like inside textured thing, the same as this AGP Tech case, which is actually really nice. I like that. It has little rubber bumpers in the corners, so if you drop it, it should be survivable. So yeah, we do get our obligatory Maraca headphones. These I will never use. I'll keep them just for the cord if I need to repair another pair of headphones. And then we get an actual, looks like a decently long USB-C cord. There we go. It is like 2 feet long. Yeah. So kudos. And Type-C. Thank you. So I will just put that to the side. And then finally, last but not least, we have the player itself. Now, all the other players are pretty hefty. They're metal and glass. To keep the price point down, this is just plastic. I mean, it's not like I can't flex it with my fingers, so it's not like a super cheap plastic, I'll be honest. But it also isn't like super high quality either. You can see the molding's a little bit off and the card slot there. It's a little rough around the holes. But yeah, meh. I mean, the plastic is probably good enough, honestly. The front does feel kind of cold. It feels like glass. I think the front is actually glass. Yeah, just when I rub my finger on it, I can feel it's definitely glass. It's not plastic. So at least the front is glass. There is a small screen protector, which I will peel off. Give me 1 sec, ASMR time. Which you probably can't hear because the stupid heating fan is on behind me, but can't really do anything about that right now. So there you go. So yeah, I actually do like. Oh, there's another screen protector under the screen protector, and then there's a bubble in the corner. Right there, you can see it. That's going to drive me nuts. Yeah, at least they give you a screen protector over it. I'll probably just I'll just leave that one on. The bubble's at least not in the center of the screen. But yeah, you can see here, it is noticeably smaller than the AGP Tech. And I actually like this form factor. Going a little bit thicker, so even with the case on the AGP Tech, it's a little thicker. If you put this case on, it'll be even thicker. Let's just see how the fit is. Yeah, fits pretty good. Feels good in the hand. With the case, it feels better because you're not touching the plastic. Yeah, Yeah, molding on the case is okay. There's like a little sprue there. I could probably take a knife and carefully clean that off. The buttons aren't hard to press. They're actually pretty easy, so that's good. I guess this is a speaker hole. Interesting. Nothing on either, well, nothing on this side. There's a hole for like a wrist strap lanyard. There is, I believe that's a reset pin hole to reset if it crashes. There's a mic hole, so yeah, you can audio record on this if you really want to. Probably not going to be great quality with that tiny little mic. There's a micro SD card slot here, USB-C, and your headphone jack all on the bottom, and then what appears to be like a home button. So let's see if this has any power. It does have some power. I like the form factor, actually. It's kind of light, so I'm really hoping they didn't fudge the battery numbers on the 1500 milliamp hour battery, because this is far lighter than this, and they're not that different in size. So I'm hoping that the battery life on this is at least, give me at least 15 hours with Bluetooth. Like 12 to 15 I'll accept, but 20 plus hours while using Bluetooth would be fantastic. Boot it up pretty fast. The screen, let's just see, can I increase the brightness here? Screen is actually decently bright. Not super bright, this AGB Tech. I know I keep comparing these two because they're actually the most similar in price and kind of size and sort of feature set. This guy, the screen is just a little bit too dim for my liking, even if I put it on max. And the battery on that doesn't last an awful long time either. But just looking at this, I have pretty bright, overhead lights. You can see them right there. It looks actually decently bright now, so that's great. We have just here, high beam music, I just said that. Gallery, file manager, I guess another music app, a movie app, and settings. Here we have Chrome, clock. You can actually use this as like an alarm clock. If I just open this here, I can scroll over timer, different functionality, and then just like an alarm clock. So that's fantastic. That is indeed a home button, so that's nice. We have calendar. We have sound recorder, which will record the sound, as I said. We have FM radio, calculator, ebook, mini share, which is actually interesting. That's like their Wi-Fi wireless music transfer software. Not just music, you can transfer any file, but they suggest using that to transfer music from, like, say, your phone directly to this without any wires. So that's pretty neat. And they have Bluetooth, which undoubtedly just opens the Bluetooth menu within the settings. And that's it. Only two screens. Let's see. I can arrange all the icons, so okay. Fair enough. Let's just see if I go into settings. I want to change a couple things. I always like having the percentage in the corner, which looks like by default it is not enabled. Now it is. Yeah, the DPI is really high on this, even though it's only 480 by 800 resolution. Because the display is only 3.5 inches, it's actually like super sharp. Get right in there. Like, that actually looks nice. The display, it has an auto rotation sensor too, but the viewing angles are actually pretty good. It does color shift a little bit left and right and up and down, but I could still see the screen. That's not a problem for me. It does have the auto rotation thing, which you could disable, obviously. Storage and USB. Let's just see out of the box how much we have. Out of the box, it's using about 400 megs, and we have 16 gigs. So actually, to be fair, there's not really that much bloat on here. And like they said, you could just uninstall things that you're never going to use. With the caveat, you'll never be able to reinstall it because you can't install APKs, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, we got that. Memory, yeah, 1.5 gigs, etc. Only using 34% right now with like nothing open. Wonder, okay, that's how you open the context menu. And yeah, it has all kind of like the standard things that all the other Android MP3 players tend to have. You can have it schedule auto power on and off. Can this stop wigging out and just focus on the display? We have auto shutdown, about device. You can see it, forgot to mention, if this will ever focus, for the love of Android, Android 6.0. So yeah, it's an old version of Android. So far, it seems snappy enough. We'll see when I actually go to use this. I kind of want to see. So, what was it? If I keep clicking on one of these, it'll do something. Okay, now I'm a developer. Okay, so you click the model number like 10 times in About Device. Now I have developer options. With this, I can change all different settings on here. Ones that I'm kind of more interested in is enabling USB debugging, so that way I can hook this up and maybe get an ADB connection going, so I can maybe push app installs over USB. I will definitely try that out. Let's see. Usually in Bluetooth, has you can change. I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess this doesn't support like LDAC or any other like high-res Bluetooth modes, but you never know. So yeah, I don't see the Bluetooth menu, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll take a look at, I guess, the Hi-B Music app for now. And it's in Chinese. Gonna guess this means okay. Hopefully the rest of this is in English. I mean, it looks like it is. Yeah, I mean, everything else looks like look how sharp that text is. And it's like tiny. Look at my thumbs there. So yeah. I guess this just means I can you go away? Maybe it'll help if I shut off. Yeah, there we go. You can actually see the screen now. Sorry about that. It actually seems like pretty snappy. So even though it doesn't have a lot of RAM, the quad-core processor seems to at least be keeping up with the user interface. I'm actually going to stick a micro SD card with a crap ton of music on here and sync it up and get everything working on that. And then I can actually do a demonstration and test for myself what the audio quality and everything is. Looks like I just messing around in the settings used 2% of the battery life. We'll have to see about that. That might be the kryptonite of this, the battery life. Hopefully is decent. I don't know. They said I think 40 hours or something, but who knows at what bit rate the files were playing and what features were on. Almost definitely not over Bluetooth. But yeah, like I said, 15 to 20 hours I want at least minimum over Bluetooth transmitting audio. Playing continuously. That'll make me happy. Anyway, let me get this set up with all my music and all that junk and get back to you guys. I'll be with you in a sec. This has been quite an adventure. So I got this like decently probably about a month ago. I've had this actually for quite a while. And apologies to what's the brand company, Mechen, for how late this is, but it's kind of late for a good reason because I actually really like this player and I ended up using it a whole bunch and it definitely came in handy. My use on this, let's start with the pros, and the biggest pro is I didn't expect this, but battery life. Running this, it didn't seem to really matter that much whether I use headphones, like wired headphones through the headphone jack on the bottom here, or Bluetooth. It seemed to get about the same battery life. But with my Bluetooth headphones, so that should normally be the worst case, and I expected to get like, 10 hours, maybe 15. These ran for like decently over 25 hours, like closer to the 30-hour mark with Bluetooth headphones, with track switching. I usually didn't turn on the screen to do that. I would usually switch using the buttons on my headphones because I usually just have this in my pocket. But decent tracks, skipping, shuffle, about 30-ish hours, 25 to 30 hours on average. That's really good for a player that's this small. I mean, it is a little bit thick and a little bit chonky, but the actual footprint of the player itself is actually really small. It's on the order of the AGP Tech that I reviewed I believe that might be a little larger than this, but thinner. But that has significantly worse battery life. That has like on the order of like 10 to 15 hours, so almost half the battery of this guy. And yeah, so this really impressed me. How I think they got there was the CPU on this guy is not necessarily the greatest. So it takes a little while to start up. The RAM doesn't have like a ton of RAM. So if you have more than one app open, it often has to like context switch where it has to close what you're currently viewing to open the new one. And then when you go back to the original app, it has to start it up from basically from scratch. So it forgets where you left off. So I think they made some very specific compromises in terms of the CPU and the RAM in order to get better battery life, which I'm kind of okay with, honestly, especially at this price point. This is like a 50-ish dollar Android MP3 player, and I can kind of dig that because that means I barely have to charge this up, and it's fantastic. So the battery life is definitely the strongest selling point of this player. I have it crammed full of MP3 files, mostly 320 kbps, and they sound fantastic, whether over Bluetooth or headphones. So the audio amp circuitry, no problems with that. Probably not audiophile grade, but for my ears, they sound fantastic. I like the case that it comes with. It does seem to protect it pretty well. Definitely pretty good on that. So things that I think could be improved. It's made to be small and pocketable. But when you get into the interface for this particular app, which is the Hi-B music player app, it's actually kind of hard to control certain things because look how small the buttons are. I have small hands, and look at my finger. My finger will like hit 3 of these buttons at once while trying to touch it. So a lot of times, especially if you go into like the equalizer and I try to individually tune different sliders, it's pretty ham-fisted, so I have a lot of trouble like hitting a single button and controlling it decently. So yeah, it's annoying. Luckily, you only really have to set that up once, and most like the music icons and that kind of stuff are just fine. So here you can see I was listening to some Persona OST, but yeah, even like scrubbing along to find a specific track point um, on the progress bar here is hard to do because of how small the actual touch area of what you're trying to control is. So yeah, I kind of get that. It's a compromise. Obviously, you can't, without making the screen larger, there's not much you can do other than maybe choosing a different music app that has larger touch buttons, so to speak, I guess. But overall, it's definitely usable. I just pretty much just set this on shuffle and kind of go about my business, so that's not too big of a deal for me. But yeah, I think maybe I like the Hi-B music. It has lots of customization, but I think maybe it's not the right app for this size touchscreen. I use Double Twist. I think it would work just fine on this touchscreen. The icons and the buttons are quite a bit larger in Double Twist than Hi-B music. So that's just my opinion, though. Another thing that they cut cost on, there's no Apple, or I almost said Apple App Store, but there's no Google Play Store, so you can't install your own apps through the web interface, and you can't even install it if you download the APK. It's just missing that functionality within Android. It's been disabled, so from a software point of view, they did that obviously to keep the cost down, so to speak. I guess. I don't know. That seems to me, I don't know if there's like a licensing fee that they would have to pay Google in order to have like app install capability on this Android device, but I kind of would like to see. Another thing that I'm thinking is because the specs on like the CPU are pretty low, uh, they don't want to exactly advertise that like, hey, we chose kind of a crappy CPU by allowing you to install apps and then finding out that the apps won't run correctly or at all because this doesn't meet the minimum specs for probably a lot of medium to higher end apps. So I'm guessing that's maybe why they chose to just disable app installs completely. so that they don't get a bunch of customer complaints about, oh, this can't even run this app or that app, whatever. So yeah, I can kind of understand that. This is more along the lines of, I think, a dispose. I feel bad saying this, but like a disposable MP3 player, something that you give your kid when they beg you for like an Android phone, but you don't want to give them a full blown phone, so you give them this to basically just consume media on. And if it gets destroyed or dropped in a toilet or whatever, it's fine. It's only like about $50 ish, and probably the price is going to drop eventually anyway. So, but yeah, in terms of what it is for the price it is a like much longer lasting battery life runtime MP3 player than I thought it'd be. Pretty surprised. In terms of like the Wi-Fi and stuff, it works fine. I guess obviously I can't install my own app, so I can't even install like a an internet web radio app onto this. You can go if your internet play like audio player exists online, like on a website, then you can obviously just use the there's a web browser here. You can just use Chrome and just access it through the web. But unfortunately, like I like listening to Absolute Alternative, and they used to have a web interface. It no longer works for some reason. Only the app works. I forget what app I use, but there's like one app that I use that you can just enter the URL and it'll work through that, but it can't work through the mobile browsers for some odd reason. I can't install that on here, so that sort of sucks. But in terms of like the Wi-Fi strength and yeah, it works. The processor, like I said, isn't so great, so it takes longer than other devices I've tried to load web pages. And the screen is quite a bit smaller, so like I wouldn't use this for browsing the web if I'm being honest. Yeah, and like I said, if you were gonna get this for your kid, maybe you don't want to have them able to access the internet. You can actually uninstall apps on here. The only caveat is because you can't install apps, once you uninstall an app from here, it's gone. There's no way to reinstall it or anything. So that sort of stinks, but yeah, it is what it is. Another thing that I found out that I was interested, uh, so it has a USB-C connector, and most of these Android MP3 players, you can plug in a thumb drive using an adapter to this, and it will work with Android on the go, which is or USB on the go, sorry, which allows you to access, using the file browser. It'll pop up as like a third drive here. This connector apparently is not wired to do USB on the go. So I plugged in a drive. It doesn't detect the drive. It doesn't even power the drive. The activity indicator LED on the drive doesn't turn on, which means that this doesn't actually output power to the drive. So I wasn't able to actually get this to work with like an external USB drive. So the only ways to really transfer music to this, you can't do it directly on the unit itself, just using like a USB adapter. You have to transfer it via the SD card. You can just pop that out. That's no big deal. Or they do provide pretty thoughtfully this mini share app, which you can download onto your phone and then just wirelessly transfer music to this device using that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That works. Oh yeah, apparently I only have a 32 gig card in here. I thought I stuck like a larger card, but yeah. Anyway, uh, and another thing is, yeah, this only has like 11 gigs available. I don't have any music actually on the internal memory here. I, yeah, I didn't even stick anything there. I actually ended up sticking all my music just on this SD card. I just have music folder, just copy all your music to that, and when you start up HiBeat, you can actually have it scan the external SD directory, and that worked just fine. It took a little while because, like I said, once again, the processor on this is not the fastest. So yeah. Interesting thing that I noted, this is a slightly older version of Android, but it does support live wallpapers. This wallpaper is live. It actually does move a little bit. But it sucks because I can't install my own custom live wallpapers. That I use like an 8-bit kind of retro wallpaper on like all my Android devices. I can't install it on this, so that does sort of stink. But like I said, you kind of have to judge uh, who you're getting this for, like what kind of user they are. I'm obviously a hardcore Android user, so this product actually isn't really targeted towards me per se. But I'm definitely glad that I gave this a chance and actually used this. Um, oh, another thing that I ran into twice. There might be a bug in the Bluetooth stack slash maybe it's Hybe's fault. I don't know, but I noticed that when you first attach Bluetooth headphones to this, they connect flawlessly. There's no issue. I never had like a dropout issue or anything. But when you first connect Bluetooth headphones to this, when you try to play music for the first time after you pair and connect Bluetooth, it plays it through the onboard speaker. And I noticed this because I was out in public and I started playing music, and I was thinking it sounds like real weak and weird, and then I realized it wasn't coming through the headphones, it was coming through the speaker on top. So that could have led to some embarrassment depending on what I was listening to. But anyway, so the fix for that is to just play and then pause it immediately, and then when I played it again, then it started coming through the Bluetooth. So it's like it got confused and routed it to the wrong audio output. It just did the onboard speaker. So that was annoying, and that happened to me twice randomly, and then I've had other times where that didn't happen to me. So I don't know, I'm pretty sure I was using different Bluetooth headphones, so maybe it's either a combination of the Bluetooth headphones that I was specifically using, and the version number of Bluetooth that they were. Possibly the Hybe app was doing it, or possibly it's just the Bluetooth stack driver for this device. I don't know. It's sort of annoying. Whatever is causing that bug, yeah, that's not so great. So maybe if Michen can look into that, possibly figure out if it's something with the device. If it's something like with my headphones, was like maybe it's a different Bluetooth version than this supports, and it does some kind of weird thing. There's some bug. If it's my fault or the way I'm using it, then that's fine. But yeah, if it's something that they could fix on their end, that would be great, because that's like a really weird, annoying bug. That was sort of the only thing that when I was using this, besides the generally slow processor and whatnot, that like really annoyed me, because that's kind of unacceptable if I'm being honest. Mini ran aside, yeah. So do I think this is worth the $50 asking price? At least as of right now. I don't know if it's on sale by the time I edit this video or anything. Honestly, I would say if you're getting it for a kid, yes. If you're getting it for a kid, yes. Or okay, fine if you're an adult, but you say you want to like take this on a snowboarding trip or something, and you don't want to risk your phone being damaged, but you wanted to maybe listen to music while you're doing something that could damage it, then I would say, yeah, this is an okay investment. $50 if this gets smashed or whatever. It's pretty beefy actually, though. Like, at least from the back side, I wouldn't expect this to get damaged. Possibly you could crack the screen, but it's a pretty tough nugget in terms of how it's designed. I could probably toss this. I could probably run over this with my car, toss this off, my balcony, and I would have a pretty high um, likelihood of this not really getting that damaged, just maybe scuffed up or something. But yeah, it feels pretty indestructible. Um, but yeah, it does a job. I mean, so yeah, if you have kids, you want to get them, their first MP3 player or whatever, this is definitely not a bad decision. Uh, Definitely the expandability helps. Yeah, I guess we can wrap up this video. Once again, huge thanks to Mechen for sending this guy in. I'm always really interested in seeing modern portable audio players that are kind of dedicated for portable audio. That's definitely cool. Oh yeah, I know I glossed over a lot of things. This has a lot of apps that like other things have, like radio and like calculator, clock, whatever, sound recorder. I'm not really gonna even focus on that for this, especially like the not audio, especially the video player application. I would not subject myself to this small of a screen at this low resolution. I think it's only 854 by 480, something like that. I wouldn't watch a video on this. I'm sure your kids would if that's what they really wanted to do. But without like an YouTube app or anything, this is kind of almost useless as a video player, unless if you transcode your videos and just stick them on the SD card, which is cool if that's what you want to do. But I definitely would not use that for that sort of application personally. So yeah, it's kind of a moot point for me to try to test that on this device. But yeah, just as a music player, I think this stands pretty high on its own merits. So yeah, if you are interested, I will have all the links for this guy down below. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.